Everywhere I look, everyone seems to be focusing on what's wrong with the world.
2 shooters were initially believed involved in the mass shooting.
ISIS has now claimed responsibility for today's deadly terror attack.
Initially reported as a 7.9 quake, it was upgraded.
The worst outbreak of the deadly Ebola virus.
Police believe the attack may have been a hate crime.
On this podcast, we choose to focus on the good.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
I can tell you from experience, the effect you have on others is the most valuable currency there is.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Many times when it appears that something is happening to you, it is always, always happening for you.
Because I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
Every single one of us makes a difference, every single day.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Welcome back to the Focus on the Good podcast. I am so excited that you are here with me today and ready for your weekly dose of positivity. Today we're going to hear a conversation that I had with Jim The Rookie Morrison. Jim was a high school science teacher and baseball coach at the age of 35. He was challenged by his players to go and try out for a major league team. When he went to that tryout, he found out that he threw 98 miles an hour. 3 months later, he found himself on a Major League Baseball mound as a professional baseball player. He was the oldest rookie in Major League Baseball history. His story was so inspiring that Disney made a movie about him in 2002 starring Dennis Quaid called The Rookie. If you haven't seen this movie, go check it out. He also has a book that he wrote called The Oldest Rookie, extremely inspiring, a book that everyone should check out. And today, Jim travels the world telling his story and inspiring people to live better lives, follow their dreams, and make a difference in the world around them. Now, I did this interview a couple days ago, but today I had the opportunity to actually meet Jim in person. I went and saw him speak, which was an incredible talk. It was so inspiring, so well done, and really funny too, the way that he spoke. He had a lot of laughs, and it was a lot of fun. But when I got to talk to him, what I found out is Jim not only has an inspiring story, but he is an inspiring person. He does what he does because he cares, because he wants to make a positive impact on the world. He's also started a foundation where he helps kids in inner cities improve their sports facilities, so he gives them something to do so they can become better, they can become leaders instead of going out and having a destructive life. They can become productive. And he can do that through sports, just like he did with his players. And he's going to tell that story, and you're going to love it. You're going to gain a lot from it. Also, on a personal note, I am a huge baseball fan, so it was so fun for me to get to talk with a former Major League Baseball player. You're going to love this interview. Let's jump right into it. Here is my conversation with Jim The Rookie Morrison. I am here with Jim The Rookie Morrison. How are you doing today?
Doing great, Jake. Thank you.
It is a pleasure to have you on the show. I remember watching you back. I was a high school baseball player when you were playing in the pros, and I thought your story was so cool. So it's an honor to be here with you.
Thank you. It's an honor to be with you.
Thank you very much. So let's jump right back. Let's jump back to the beginning of your story. Let's go to Reagan County High School. And you were coaching a group of kids that were considered lost cause kids. How were you able to break through to them?
Well, I'll tell you, I inherited a baseball team that had won one game each year for the 3 years before I got there. And when they hired me, the other coaches came to my classroom and they said, if you expect these kids to ever win, you're wasting your time. And immediately I thought, as a coach, why are you guys here?
Yeah.
And so I asked them that, and they're like, because we get paid more than anybody else in the state because we live out in the boonies. And I'm like, well, that's a great reason to work with kids. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then my kids came to my classroom, and, 2 stories here. When I was 19 years old, when the Brewers drafted me, I drove from Brownwood to Phoenix for spring training with the Brewers. on my way in my little red sports car, I drove through Reagan County. I thought, who would live here? And God has a great sense of humor, because you know what? 15 years later, I did. And it was just, I think it was meant to be. I was the perfect person for that job at that time, because I'd been screamed at, cursed at, hit, everything my whole life. And these kids had had the same thing done to them. And so for me to come in and talk to them like they're human beings, they were very receptive of that. And so we had a mutual respect of each other. And when they saw what I was going to do for them and how I was going to treat them, I went from 10 kids my first year to 63 my second year in a little bitty high school.
That's a high school of how many students?
9 through 12, probably 950.
Wow. I mean, big high schools aren't getting that many kids out for a baseball team sometimes.
Right. I went from having a varsity team, or barely being able to have a varsity team, to having a JV, a freshman team. These kids just want to be part of the program because they like where I was going. And so we did that, and I did that specifically on purpose because, you know, being yelled at and cursed at your whole life, the last thing you want to do is run a kid off.
Yeah.
And so I wanted these kids to realize, you know, I do care for you. And in doing that, these kids came back at me with, you know what, we care for you too. And they showed me dreams that I thought were dead and gone, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome. One of the things I thought was cool in the book and in the movie was that you guys worked on the field, you worked on respect within the players. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Absolutely. My grandfather was my main teacher. From 15 to 18, I lived with my grandparents, my paternal grandparents. And for 15 years of my life, I learned every person to blame except myself for things that have been done wrong. In the next 3 years, my grandparents taught me, if you do it, you own it. And, you know, the other thing they taught me, if you always tell the truth, you do not have to remember what you said. And so in being part of that and approach with these kids, my grandfather also taught me, be able to respect anybody else, you got to respect yourself first. And so that's what I went at these kids with, man. I taught them everything my grandfather taught me. And we learned to pull our pants up where they go, because that kills me. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I told them where it came from. They put belts on too. We learned to turn our hats around the way they belong, because unless you're Ken Griffey Jr., you know what? You're going to wear your hat the right way. We're going to respect this game. And we're going to respect the field. We're going to respect the umpires. We're going to respect the people who come to watch us play. We're going to respect the other team. If anybody does any talking, it's me. I take the heat. You guys remain blameless, and you just play the game. Let your play be the talking for you. And so that's how we approached everything. And, you know, we took that from there. We went into the classroom. We opened doors for teachers. We did our homework. We turned our homework in. We said yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. And we otherwise closed our mouths, because you cannot dream as big as you can possibly dream unless you're learning. And so these kids bit that hook, line, and sinker. And we took that. We went back on the field. We redid our whole field, infield, outfield, grass, dirt. We painted backstops. We painted dugouts. We painted the outfield fence. These kids respected it, and they did not want anybody coming on what they had built and beating them there. And so I think if you have part ownership in something that you're proud of, you don't want anybody mistreating it.
Absolutely.
And so these kids been into it, and you know, I have them to thank, and you know, the foundation that I've started, and we'll talk about that later.
Yes.
They want to be part of that now, and they're 35 years old, and they've got little kids, and so it's a pleasure to still be a part of their lives.
That's really cool. It's so cool to see that if you show respect to someone at any age, but you show respect to a kid when they've never got that respect, they're going to give it back to you. I think that's really awesome. What a great example that is. How do you think that someone who works with kids, whether it's an educator, a speaker, or anyone who works with kids in any aspect, how can they get through to a kid, or how can they motivate a kid that already believes that they are a lost cause?
Two things. You have to listen to them, and you have to believe what they say. And you know what? These kids go through so much more. I would have a teacher come to my classroom and go, that kid is such a lost cause. And I would go, You do not know what it took for that kid to get out of his own house. And from his house, you don't know what it took for him to get to the school. And from the school, you don't know what it took for him to get down the hallway. You don't know what's happened in that kid's life. You claim that you can have a bad day, but they can't. I mean, come on. Trust these kids and realize they're going through the same things we are, except it's intensified when you're a teenager. And so there are so much more things, and they're taken so much more drastically when you're young. And you just have to talk to them and believe in what they say and realize their feelings are true, and they are extremely amplified. And then you go, you know what? I get it. I remember back when I was a teenager, even though that was a long time ago, and the feelings that I felt were extreme at that point, and that's what these kids are going through, extremities. And so you go and you go, I get it. Now what are you telling me? And you just got to open up and you got to listen to them.
That's great. That's great advice. Now, a minute ago, you mentioned that these kids opened up hopes and dreams to you that you thought were dead and gone. And that goes to, if someone's seen the movie, it goes to a hopes and dreams speech that you were telling your kids. Tell us a little bit about that. What was leading up to that? What did you say in that speech before they made that deal with you?
I had an athletic director stop me on my way to the field in 1999 where everything took place and told me, you've taken these kids as far as you can. These kids are losers. They'll never add up to anything. Their parents are losers. And then he stuck his finger in my chest and he goes, you're always going to come in second to people like me because you're too nice.
Oh, geez.
And I thought, wow. And the problem with that was that two of my kids heard that. And they were behind the lockers changing. I didn't even see them. By the time I got to my field, it had already spread through my team like wildfire. The guy not only in charge of all the coaches, but all the kids thought they were losers. And so the first two games of 1999 were 15-1, 15-0. We didn't have 15. I just stood on home plate as I sent the kids down the left field line. I said, God, what can I do to help these kids? How can I get through? And the answer I got back was so easy, man. It was go down there and teach them what your grandfather taught you. And that's what I did. And so for 20 minutes, I talked to these kids about hopes and dreams and goals. I said, you guys got to go out and live life. You can't let life live you. Don't let somebody else dictate to you what you're going to do with yours. Don't let anybody else decide who you are or what you are. You decide that. And about 20 minutes into this, in the back of my mind, I'm going, I think Ernest would be pretty proud, man. My grandfather, I think I'm getting through. The kids they're looking at me. They're engaged. They're smiling. And that's when my catcher looked at me and goes, well, Coach, what about your dreams? I said, my dream is to watch you guys graduate from high school, go to college, see what's out there, and then you make up your own mind on where it is you want to be and what it is you want to do. And he goes, well, you know that. We know you love us. We know you care about us. But we think you still want to play baseball. And I said, no, I want to stay married. Thank you very much. And, I've had 9 surgeries. The doctor at 28 said, you'll never, ever pitch again. You're losing 85% of your deltoid muscle. Can't be done. Impossible. He goes, Coach, the way you throw us batting practice, we know your heart's still in it. We can't even hit you. And I said, that's because you can't hit. And my catcher looked, he goes, Coach, if we start winning, you try it again. And everybody else started drumming in. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. He goes, if we win a district championship in baseball, which the school had never done, you try it again. And so I thought about it, and then I did what every parent does. I caved in.
Of course.
I said, if you guys win, I will find a trout somewhere. In the back of my mind, 2 things are going on, man. This is going to be embarrassing and humiliating, which I can do nothing about because you're old and fat. And your wife's going to kill you.
Yeah.
So I did not tell her. And, I thought, if that will get these kids to play, I'll make that bet. I'll go embarrass myself. I have no problem with that. And they won. I had to try out. My dad helped me find my trout in my hometown of Brownwood at Howard Payne University, where I found out I was throwing 98 miles an hour at high school kids.
Yeah.
And, most men would go, yeah, I throw 98, I throw gas. I was going, I'm getting sued because I've been throwing gas at high school kids.
Yeah.
And I go back and I tell my high school kids, and they're like, Coach, we told you. And these are the same kids who could not hit me at the beginning of the year who were beating me all over the field. And so the last thing I thought when I go to this tryout and I've got high school kids killing me. I'm going to really impress somebody. But that's what happened. These kids saw something in me I thought was dead and gone.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And what did you think? I mean, I know that you just said that your first thought is, wow, I can't believe I was throwing that hard to high school kids. But I mean, you only threw like high 80s back when you were in what would be considered your prime, and then all of a sudden 35, you're throwing 90. I mean, how many guys even throw 98 miles an hour? That must have been pretty crazy. What was going through your mind when you realized that?
I 17 years later, I still don't have the words for it. I was blown away. And so to sit back and look at that and go, that is definitely something God had his hand in. I was not ready the first time, and I think the second time, with all those kids relying on me and looking at me, I think God said, now you're ready. And I think that's when it took off, and nothing's impossible through him. And so 88 was my speed. 98 to 102, that was God's speed.
Wow. Now that has, in doing that has led you to a lot of other opportunities now where you've been able to inspire people. Tell us a little bit about that.
I travel around the world. Everybody said as soon as the movie comes out, you're going to speak a lot. And as the movie drifts from people's minds, you're not going to speak as much. Well, 2016 is the busiest year I've ever had, and it's just getting busier, and things are filling in that I know God has his hand in it, because there's no other way any of this could be explained. I am busier and happier than I've ever been. So we're going to go out, we're going to talk to people everywhere. We're going to tell them that nothing is impossible, but you got to have your heart right. And then we're going to go from there. And my high school kids are involved with that still, even though they're 35 years old. They're like, Coach, what are you doing now? And I'll tell them what I'm doing. They're like, can we be a part of it? And so to have them that many years later still want to be a part of my life is incredible.
That is awesome. That is so cool. I love what you said there about you can do anything, but you have to have your heart right. And I think that so much of success is not necessarily about what you do, but about who you are. So I think that's really cool.
Well, thank you, and I think you're right. I think that we make a lot of mistakes along the way. And at that point in my life, I did not want to wake up at 50 being challenged by a group of kids and asking myself, what if I'd have tried one more time? And so in helping them, I helped me. And in doing that, I think God saw a way for me to come through and do some work for him, because I have been extremely busy since then, and it's not slowing down.
That is awesome. So take us through from the time of the tryout for some people who, the few people who maybe haven't seen the movie or read the book. Take us from your tryout to the point to where you're standing on a major league mound.
After the tryout, the head scout came up to me and he goes, I remember you. 15 years ago, you were this football player everybody wanted to make a picture of. I said, yes, sir. He said, Jimmy, back then you threw 87 or 88. And I said, yep. He said, you were thin then. I said, thank you for reminding me of that.
As someone who struggles with weight, I appreciate that.
He goes, well, I don't know what you've done your time off aside from eat. But the first pitch you threw without warming up was 94. Everything after that went up to 98. And I was stunned. I just went, I've never thrown this hard in my life. And he goes, don't be surprised if you get a phone call. So I went home, called my kids. One phone call, it was 12. And they wanted me to come back in 2 days and throw again to see if I could actually throw that hard or if my arm had fallen off. And I go back 2 days later, and it rained so bad they had to have me a brand new ball every pitch. Signing up to my knee in mud, 98 every pitch. They signed me to a minor league contract. Now, when you sign a minor league contract and you take a pay cut from teaching to do it, you're putting your life out there.
Yeah, well, especially at 35 with family and financial responsibilities.
Man, and I signed the contract. 2 days later, I'm in Florida, and I'm on a non-coaching diet. I had mostly Hispanic kids. All their moms could cook extremely well, so our road games were awesome. And so the first thing they took away from me were my Famous Amos cookies and Dr. Peppers, and that killed me. But 3 weeks, the best diet I never want to be on again, and I'm in AA. You know, the first time around as a youngster, the only place I got to was A-ball. I kept stumbling, failing, not doing what the doctor said. I'm going to do it my way, and it never worked. And then because of these kids, immediately I'm in AA. I go out one day, the first day I'm there, I throw 91, 92 miles an hour. I strike out a guy, get a double play. The second night there, I throw 2 innings, strike out 5 guys, throw 98, 99 miles an hour. And that's when the kids started asking me questions, and that's when I realized the difference between 19 and 35. I mean, the kid sitting next to me on the bus goes, "So, are you married?" And I said, "For now." And the kid behind him goes, "Well, do you have kids?" I said, "I've got 3." And I told them their names and their ages. Now, the kid behind him is looking at me. He's totally perplexed. He's trying to formulate this question in his head. What comes out of his mouth? "So after each kid, you start throwing harder?"
It's a superpower.
And I'm like, "Why, yes, I did. And I'm going to have some more. You know, I'm just being a smart aleck." And I said, "Oh, yeah, by the way, my counselor would like to talk to you because my counselor told me I would never add up to anything." And I'm like, this kid's the same way. And that's when I realized the difference in age. And the next day, after that outing with 5 strikeouts, I get called up to AAA. And I'm playing with next to the best players in the world. I'm one phone call away, and I'm there because of these kids. And I will tell you that the teacher next door to me in that class, she came over the first day I taught there at Reagan County and said, "You will never, ever make it here because you are here to win, and we want teachers. You don't care about the kids, therefore I don't like you." Well, the first letter I got in AAA was from this same teacher. And she said, "In all my years of teaching, I have never had anybody impact these kids as much as you have." She said, "You've taught these kids more than we have, and we've been here for 35 years. She goes, "I know." She goes, "I respect everything you've done. My classroom is open for your kids." She was our IT teacher, and she had her computers on every night so the kids could listen to me over the internet. And I know for younger people now, they're like, "Listen over the internet? What is that?" But at that point, that's what we had. And, you know, my kids listened. They made a shrine out of Reagan County High School. They put me in the bookcase there. And, I mean, it was more than anything I ever expected. And to get that compliment from that teacher who had been teaching for so long is probably one of the best compliments I've ever received in my life.
Wow.
I go 8 weeks later, I get called up to the big leagues. I'm in my home state of Texas. I'm in my favorite ballpark. I walk into a clubhouse where there is Wade Boggs, who had just gotten his 3,000th hit.
Like a couple weeks before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And I walk in, and they've heard about the crazy science teacher for 3 months now. And he's like, "That is the best story I've ever heard." I'm looking at him, and I'm like, "But you're Wade Boggs." You know, I'm still a teacher and a fan. I'm like, "You're my hero. You've been playing for like 20 years." And he hugs me, he laughs, he walks off. Fred McGriff, Jose Canseco, Roberto Hernandez, all these guys. And it was just amazing to me that they accepted me because they knew I could do the job I was there to do. So we go out, and Johnny Oates, the opposing manager, God rest his soul, let 150 people in the game that day that had ties to me.
Wow.
And my kids.
All free tickets he gave you?
Yep.
Wow, that's awesome.
My kids got in, the kids I coached got in, kids I coached against, even though it was football season, coaches have driven their school buses 8 hours to come watch the coach who had made a promise live out his dream. And so that meant the world to me. And then for 8 innings, I'm sitting in the bullpen, I'm like, this is awesome. I'm sitting next to big league pitchers for the first time in my life with my name on my jersey, talking to these guys about how to pitch the guys I might be facing later. And so for 8 innings, I'm sitting there, I'm like eating it all up. I'm like, this is awesome. And then the 8th inning, they go, "Morris, warm up." And I think that's when reality hit me. I'm like, warm up? I'm having fun, you know. And 2 minutes later, I'm in the game. I'm like, all right, I guess here we go. And when they opened the door from the bullpen to the mound, it is one of the most amazing sights I've ever seen. All the colors, all the noise, and everything. And as I ran from the bullpen to the mound, everything just closed in. And I'm sitting there on top of the mound, looking at this guy I'm going to be facing pretty soon. And I'm there because of a group of teenagers. I am there because of a group of kids who I thought highly of me, and when I pushed them, they pushed back. And they're watching me live out my dream from 3 rows away. I mean, that to me, that was a culmination of everything I'd wanted to teach those kids. If you're gonna talk about it, go do it. And if you're gonna do it well. If you're gonna do it well, do it 100% of the time. Don't mess around. Don't wake up one day and go, what if? Get after it. And so Royce Clayton was an all-star that year. He's the first guy I faced. Take my warm-up pitches. I throw the first strike. Swings to it for strike one, 98. Takes his left foot out of the box for timeout. Looks to the ground so the camera cannot read his lips and yells at me, "But you're old."
Oh, I hadn't heard that. That is hilarious. But you could hear it loud and clear though, right?
Yeah, I'm like, I know, right? And you know, people all the time, they go, what was the difference between the movie and real life? Well, in the movie, he struck out in 3 pitches. In real life, he struck out in 4 because he fouled off the 3rd pitch over the first base dugout. On the movie set, we tried to get the actor to foul off the ball for 8 hours one day. After 8 hours, the director looked at me and said, "You struck him out in 3 pitches, you know." I'm like, all right, whatever. And it was all in front of those kids. Everything I'd preached, taught, urged, everything I'd wanted those kids to hear, they got to live out. And so when I pushed them, they pushed back, and we all became better because of it.
That's amazing. I mean, it must have just been, this was your dream as a kid and growing up and playing in the minors as a young adult, and then it seeming like it was impossible and gone. And then you're standing on top of that mound with a baseball that says Major League Baseball in your hands. What was it like to reach your dreams after you thought it was dead? When you realized, hey, I made it.
I think it meant more to me at 35 than it ever would have at 18 or 19. I do not think I would have respected the game like I did. I was the first to the ballpark. I was the last to leave. I had a great time every time I went out. And, I'd go to Boston, I'd go to New York, I get ragged on because you're old. And I ate it up, man. It's all part of the game. And so to get ragged on New York, you're doing something well, or they're not even going to pay attention to you. So it was a great time, and I would all those kids.
That's awesome. What would you say to someone who has a dream but they think it's impossible?
I would say that nothing's impossible, and through God especially, nothing's impossible. If you have a dream in your heart and a dream in your mind, go out and chase it, and don't take no for an answer. You're not going to know unless you go out and do it. And so if you just give up before you ever start, you're wasting life on earth. Go out and chase whatever it is you have in your heart and see if it works. If it doesn't, at least you know that. And the dream you start chasing may not be the one you end up loving the most. Whoever that knew me earlier in my life would have thought this guy who is afraid to talk to anybody would go out and speak to thousands of people. I went out and I played baseball. I loved it because of those high school kids. I got a second chance. And now I speak to people all over the world. Something I never, ever would have done, dreamt of, or thought of as being my dream until 35. So never give up.
I love that. That is really cool. I in your book, I think the very first lines are, "I don't like to talk very much," or something like that. And it is amazing that now you're traveling the world speaking and inspiring people. And you're so right. If you would have made it right at 18, 19, 20, sure, it's great to hear from a major league ball player, but what you did, that's an inspiring story. That's so inspiring. There's so many people who just think, there's no way I can make it. It's too late. It's too whatever. But you proved that nothing is impossible.
Thank you, Jake. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Now tell me a little more about your foundation, what you do there.
Jim The Rookie Morrison Foundation, JTRMFoundation.org, is something in which has been on my heart for a long time. I go and I see all these places and I talk to all these people. And the one thing I can think of being a believer is it's time to give back. And so my foundation is going to go into inner cities and for families that don't have a father or a mother or parents or anybody to look up to. We're going to go in and we're going to be those people. I am taking Major League ball players, NFL ball players, basketball players. We're going to go into these inner cities. We're going to do camps for kids. This year we're going to redo 2 fields and do camps for these kids after we get them redone during the summer and give them something to be proud of, because these kids are looked down upon, they're put down, they're talked down, they're cursed down. One of these kids, if we show them the love and the faith that we have in them, could be our next president. We have no idea. But if we don't show them that, they could be our next gang leader.
Yeah.
And so we're going to go in and we're going to show them that love, and we're going to show them and tell them they're worth something. We're going to listen to them. We're going to talk to them. And one of the schools in Fort Worth, they have nothing. Built in 1970, the weight room is disgusting. The baseball field's uneven. There's Everglades in right center field where they've not fixed the water system. And then in Houston, there's another field. I can't even tell where the pitcher's mound is from the pictures they send me. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And these kids are supposed to be proud of that. How are they supposed to be? They can't even play on that. And so we are going to go in and redo these fields and then do lessons for these kids and show them we love them. And we're not going to do it this year and this year alone. We're going to go back year after year and watch these kids grow up. And we're going to do lessons every single day.
That sounds fantastic. What great work you're doing. That is really amazing. Couple more questions about about your career playing Major League Baseball. Now, you went from the time that you did the tryout till the time you were standing on that mound at the ballpark in Arlington. How much time had gone by?
3 months. Unheard of.
So 3 months earlier, you're a science teacher, and then 3 months goes by, you are standing on a Major League mound.
Dude, nobody's more blown away than I am. I'm like, I am grading report cards with nobody wants to see my name on anything because that means they did something bad, to signing autographs in 3 months.
And you had a media frenzy during that time. You were on the news almost every night you pitched. You were on the news.
It was unbelievable, man. I would show up at AAA, and the poor little girl in charge of our PR would come at me with these 2 or 3 pages. She goes, okay, before we get dressed, you got to do this interview. After you get dressed, you got to do this one. Before stretching, you got to do this one. After stretch, I mean, she was ragged. And we'd have boom microphones sticking in the dugout the whole time. I mean, it was amazing to be a part of. And at that time, at 35, I no longer took anything for granted. So I talked to everybody who wanted to talk. I did every interview. And the only thing I can do with what my grandfather taught me is to be honest. And so heartfelt and honest with everybody I've talked to. And there's not one place I wish I would have been except Reagan County High School in 1999.
Wow. Then soon after, you have the book, then the movie's made about you. What was that all like? That must have just been a whirlwind.
When you go and you write a book about every time you ever screwed up, that's probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And we've started writing a second book, and since then, everything that's gone on, and I don't know what all you know about me now, but there's a lot that's gone on. I've got Parkinson's, I've had deep brain stimulation surgery, I've had my stomach cut out.
Wow, I did not know that.
I'm not slowing down, man. People with this disease, they want to slow down, they want to stop. When you stop, people start passing you by. When they pass you by, you die. And so we've sped up. I started this foundation. We're going to go out and we're going to help kids. That's my heart. That's what I want to do. That's what impacted me so much when I was young is that my dad would say something and just kill my soul. Now, I know these kids go through worse stuff than I did, but the last thing that we ever want to do as adults is kill a young person's soul. We want to help them, and we want to nurture them, and we want them to go out and chase the dreams they're supposed to chase. And so, as a Major League ball player retired, as a person with Parkinson's, I'm showing these kids that even though I have something that should be slowing me down, it's not. I'm going to go out and I'm going to talk to these kids every day, and we're going to get the job done. We're going to give them futures, and we're going to talk to them, and we're going to say, hey, you can achieve this. How hard are you willing to work?
Wow, that is awesome. Now, you mentioned a lot of hard things that you've gone through as an adult, but also after reading your book as a kid. You grew up with not an ideal situation with your dad, and you went through a lot of hard times, basically seeing your dreams crushed as a young adult. And what my question is how can someone who is going through a hard time, specifically a young person, how can they take the good and leave the bad? How can they get through that?
I think what you got to take from that is you got to realize the people who are spurting out bad stuff have been hurt somewhere in their lives where they can't rebound from that. What you want to do is you got to surround yourself with good people. If you surround yourself with the best people possible, you're going to be the best you can be. And you just surround yourself with a team of people you want who have like goals, like means, and like wants, and you go out and you attack the world. If you start listening to all that stuff, you're going to get drugged down into a world you do not want to be involved in. But when you surround yourself with good people, these people are going to push you to be better. And those are the people you want to be around. Those are the people you listen to. And it may be a grandmother, and it may be a teacher. It may be somebody, because some of the people killing your dreams may be a parent, maybe a counselor, it could be anybody. Those are the people you want to push aside because you want to go out and you want to chase those dreams. So you get people like you who want the same things that you do in life, and you surround yourself with those people, and they're going to help you get there.
So surround yourself around the right people and just let go of the wrong people.
That's it.
I love it. Well, it has been such an honor to get to talk with you today. I have a couple last questions for you. This show is the Focus on the Good podcast. It's all about, what's wrong is always available, but so is what's right. Now, why do you think it's important, or why do you specifically think it's important to have a positive attitude?
I think we see so much more when we have a positive attitude. I think when you close yourself off from the world and you become negative, that all you see is failure. I think when you see nothing but positive, you want to go out and you want to achieve something. You want to surround yourself with good people. You want to go out and do something extraordinary that nobody thought you could do just because. And that's what matters.
That's awesome. Now, you have really made a positive impact on the world around you. If an everyday person who's listening to this wants to make a positive impact on the world around them, what do you think the best thing they can do is?
Surround themselves with the best people they possibly can. Make up a great game plan and get after it. And I can't stress that enough. You've got to get rid of the negative people. And they are numerous, and they are sent by the person who wants us to fail. You got to go out and you got to get right, and you got to get your heart right, and you got to get after it. And you can't take no for an answer. For every failure, there's going to be a positive thing that happens in your life. You learn from that, you take it, you push that aside, you get up, you get after it again, you dust yourself off. You don't take no for an answer, and you just go, I'm going to do this. And that's what you do, man. You get up and you get after it every day until it finally happens.
Inspiring words. Thank you so much, Jim. If people want to get connected with you, how can they do that?
JimTheRookieMorris.com is my speaking website. JTRMFoundation.org is the foundation. We're looking for everybody with the foundation, man. We're not just looking for money. We're looking for people with used equipment. We're looking for people who want to volunteer. We're looking for people who have great stories to tell these kids so that we can build them up and put them where they're supposed to be and get them out of their darkness. We want to put them in the light.
Wow, that's awesome. Actually, I'm gonna talk to you afterwards. I have a lot of used gear that I don't use anymore, and I'll definitely send it your way. Thank you very much for being on the show. It's an absolute honor. Thank you very much, Jim.
Absolutely, Jake. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Always, always, always remember to look for the good in the world, because what's wrong is always available, but so is what's right. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it. Please share it with those that can use it, and also rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. That helps us out tremendously. And remember, I choose to focus on the good, and I hope you will too.